this is Pamela Worth with the Hello Health podcast. And today I have Christine Slomski, licensed professional counselor, emotional freedom technique practitioner, and founder of Calm Hearts Counseling. Thank you so much, Christine, for being on.
I am so glad to be here with you, Pamela. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to talk about the emotional freedom technique today.
Yes. So tell us how you got into health and wellness. What is this technique, and who are you really serving in this?
Those are some really good, big questions. Broadly, what brought me into health and wellness? Gratefully, I was born into a family that had that consciousness of balancing, at least in our family system, balancing Eastern medicine and Western medicine, and really looking to how can we care for our bodies in optimal ways. And so, I have some family members in health and wellness, and so I was introduced to it in a at an early age, and also just through my own personal journey, when I've leaned into certain areas of medicine that then kind of led to dead ends, then I really dug into pretty deeply what used to be called alternative medicine, but now we know it as mind body medicine. And so I do quite a bit of that work in my role as a licensed professional counselor. I look at the mind and the body and see and just move us beyond conventional talk therapy to see how can we thrive as a whole person. So just in brief, that journey is taking me on to pursue certifications in yoga nidra. I've studied herbalism and especially the emotional freedom technique, and I'm going on almost 20 years now of using it, and I love it. It's one of my primary tools for myself, my clients, my family members.
So, what is it?
Yeah, great question. So, the emotional freedom technique, we call it either tapping or EFT tapping. Sometimes it's called meridian therapy because we're tapping along meridians in the body, which I can share a little bit about. But essentially, to kind of distill it down, the emotional freedom technique is a calming tool, and it's like pairing acupressure and psychology. So, if we even back it up a step, we all know or we've heard of what acupuncture is, right? We put these little needles on certain points of the body. There's over 2,000 points. But what those needles are doing is they're stimulating points along our meridian system or our nervous system to get to clear blockages, right? And with EFT tapping, we're doing something very similar with acupressure on 9 points that are very accessible or quickly accessible to us, right? And I can demonstrate those. It's on our face and on our torso, top of the head. And then we're also pairing it with what's going on emotionally for us or physically. So, again, it's a calming tool to distill it down in its most simplest form. When we're pressing on these points along the body, these 9 points, research is showing us that it's sending that calming signal to the amygdala, that little almond shaped piece in our brain that puts us in fight or flight. So it's telling our body and our brain, hey, we're safe in this moment. It's okay. It's okay. Because all of us are on fight or flight all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Do you, so of the 9 points, are you hitting different, like, is there a difference between the 9 points, I guess is what I'm trying to ask, if you do like the side of the head versus the top of the head or the torso or whatever?
hmm Well, the beauty of EFT tapping is that you can tap along any point and you can skip over points and it's still effective. Now, if you look at through the lens of Chinese medicine and which point we're tapping on, it correlates to a different organ system, right? So under here, I'm pointing to under my pupil on the bone under my eye. That correlates to the stomach meridian. And in fact, the psychologist who kind of gave birth to, although Gary Craig, I want to give him the credit, he's really the father of EFT tapping, but a psychologist that kind of came up with this concept, initially called thought field therapy, was Dr. Roger Callahan, a psychologist also studying Chinese medicine. And he was working with a woman who had terrible stomach pains and a phobia of water. And one day they were getting nowhere in therapy to address her fear of water. And he just said, you know what, let's just start talking about your fear and what's getting in the way of you getting into water and just tap on that point under your eye. because it correlates with the stomach meridian. And they found that by doing that, she was relieved of stomach pain and it also addressed her fear. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but yeah, so the points do correlate with different organ systems. And at the same time, you can't get EFT wrong. It's a very, very forgiving technique for calming the body.
And then
Yeah.
who are you seeing most of right now? Like, tell us a little bit about the types of people that you typically see and the types of things that you're typically working through.
Mhm. I primarily serve women in my practice, women of all ages, although I would say the bulk of women I work with are ages 35 to about 65, 70. And working women, women with families, women who are caring for the people around them that are really holding that space or caring for aging parents, women who are in all the roles with all the hats. And so I work with a lot of women who are living with chronic stress, chronic anxiety, chronic overwhelm, as well as chronic illness too. We know that autoimmunity is now it's so prevalent in women more than men, right? And we're seeing those autoimmune disorders. So that's who I serve. And as a mind body therapist, going beyond conventional talk therapy, we use a lot of EFT tapping and then other modalities as well to really signal to the body, hey, it's okay. We're safe. We can let go of this stress. And particularly, we use this as a tool to support women, like at the end of the day or at the end of the week, to discharge that stress because we don't want to go to bed with it, right? And so that's just a little bit of how I use EFT and the population that I serve.
And then, as you're doing this holistic view, when do you encourage them to solicit other practitioners to maybe take care of certain things that might be causing some of this chronic,
Yeah, yeah, the chronic health issues. That's a great question. I love collaborating on client care. So it really is a multifaceted approach. So when I see that just something in the body is not getting resolved through these stress reduction tools, I'll refer them. I work with a lot of naturopathic doctors, functional medical providers, homeopathists, herbalists. Something that can also get into the body even deeper than EFT tapping, right? Because we have so many other beautiful modalities that complement this tool. So that's an instance where I will refer out as well, or not refer out, but incorporate another provider into their care, particularly with hormonal support as well. Wherever you're at in that journey, tapping can be very helpful because we are reducing cortisol levels. And just a quick fact: an hour of EFT tapping reduces cortisol production by 43% versus traditional talk therapy. And that's huge. And we know that cortisol levels that are off the charts are really messing with our hormones, right? But all that to say, yeah, I definitely like to get someone on board to support women with hormonal support.
so let me ask you this. So, the thought of tapping for an hour sounds like a long time. Is there an
Yeah.
easy way to kind of get into a pattern of this? Because that sounds kind of overwhelming to carve out an hour.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. And that's based on what the research shows. Um, yeah, I in fact, I don't tap an hour a day, but what I do is I'll start my day by with some tapping and breath work. I encourage clients to tap for at least 3 to 5 minutes a day. Some of my clients, they're very disciplined and principled, and they're in competition with themselves, and they want to do it 15 minutes every day on their lunch break. But I say it's something is better than nothing. And in my opinion, it's not practical, right, with all of us in our busy lives to do an hour of tapping. But just breathing and tapping can help, even if you're at a stoplight or if you're in the pickup line. A lot of my clients will do that when they're in the pickup line, just tapping and breathing.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Those
Mhm.
lines are something else. Um, is there a favorite place that you encourage your patients to tap while they're just trying to reset, so to speak?
Mhm. My response to that is go where you feel drawn. So I teach tapping, I teach the 9 points, right? Which is the basic straightforward protocol, right? There's integrity in teaching it as it's been taught to me. And then also because it's such a forgiving tool, tap anywhere along those points, wherever feels good. Sometimes there'll be a point that's really tender, and I would just say tap and breathe there because you're clearing something in your meridian system that's been stored there. Um, And while I wouldn't say it is the one point you have to do, what we call in the EFT community kind of the money point is this point called the thalamus gland here. And we also tap on this in EMDR therapy. I'm also an EMDR therapist, and it's right below your collarbone, and there, it tends to be pretty sore. There's a gland there,
Mhm.
and when we're tapping on that, that can be really, really effective. And for my working clients who are professionals in the boardroom or they're at a meeting or with family, that I tell at like at a dinner table, they can tap on the side of the hand, and I can show these to you today, and they can just do that discreetly, just tapping and breathing. No one knows.
Nobody has to know.
All right,
So,
because it looks kind of funny if you're doing it in front of people.
for sure. Any other points? So besides the hand, your you mentioned
Yeah.
the head, the sides. Where else? Where else in the nine?
Yeah, so let's review them since we're together here today. So we start on the side of the hand, that fleshy part, the ridge of the hand right beneath the pinky, and it doesn't matter if it's your right side or left side. And for those who may be listening to this, I can't see. We call it the karate chop point. So if you were going to do like a karate chop, that's where we start tapping. And there's actually a setup statement that we create that goes with this, which I can share in a moment. But we start here, and then we go to this eyebrow point right in between your eyebrows, and we can go one side or either side or both sides, side of the eye on the temples, okay, under the eye, so it's that bone right underneath the pupil, under the nose, and then we tap under the lip. It's like in this divot point where the chin is, and then underneath the collarbone, not on the bone, right underneath, on the side of the body, like right underneath the arm, a few inches below the armpit, and then top of the head, that governing vessel. So those are the 9 basic points that we teach. Mhm.
That's great. And then any other thoughts around when and how to bring your kids into this when they're starting to melt down or
Yes, there's really a whole component on EFT tapping in children. Um, It can be well, here's the thing, when kids are having meltdowns, we co-regulate, right? So it's really important that we can take a breath and get our nervous system as calm as we can in the moment, right? And then what we do, because we have these mirror neurons, right? Especially with our kids, they're watching us, we're mirroring. And so we can just start to tap and breathe and just say, "Oh my gosh, yes, you're so tired. Oh my gosh, it's yeah, you're just so upset." And we can just start tapping with them and breathing, right? And telling them what tapping is before. So if we're like in the middle at the start of a tantrum or meltdown, and we can just, hey, just watch me and let's just tap together and breathe. And kids, I've noticed this. They'll see that and start tapping and just kind of start to calm themselves. And there's a lot that we can do with kids as well, like formally and clinically with EFT tapping. But that's just the first thing that comes to mind is, or just doing our butterfly taps. This is borrowed from EMDR. Just tapping and breathing, calming, taking that butterfly tap, and we're still hitting those thalamus points.
that's super interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Oh my goodness, Pamela, there's my mind is going in 4 or 5 different directions. I would say that tapping is wonderful for everyone and anyone. It's universal. There are no adverse effects, none. As I said, I'm also an EMDR therapist, and while I love and respect that modality, it's a powerful modality that can bring up a lot if someone's not quite ready. Tapping is just as effective, but I call it like the gentler cousin of EMDR. And so it can be used in an airplane, in a bathroom, at a concert, like wherever you are. And it's also really wonderful to do outside of therapy. There are resources you can look up online. But also, if you are working with a therapist, particularly like at my practice, you can pair it with OCD treatment, post traumatic stress, um, body image, um, relationship conflict. Anything where we feel stuck belief wise and also stuck in reactivity and stress. And so I think it's just one of many great tools, but I love it because once you learn it, you can use it on your own and you're not dependent on a therapist. So, yeah,
That's a great idea. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I think it's really important. for us to use, particularly for some of us who are caregivers. I know I've been in that role recently in the last year and supporting a family member after a major surgery, and it's a lot. Right. And so by taking that moment to pause, and for me, it's tapping and breathing paired with some aromatherapy. And it just helps me empty out, settle down, and get clear. Right. So that then I can sleep well, I can wake up with a clear mind, and I'm more effective for myself, my family, and my clients.
Yeah. So when you're doing aromatherapy, what are some of your favorites in terms of kind of cleansing the mind and helping the body reset?
Oh, great question. Aromatherapy wise, so I really love I obviously lavender. I give out lavender sachets to all of my clients. But it really depends on the client. For myself, I love tea tree oil for just its clarifying component. I use that. And in fact, I use it on some of my meridian points that we're tapping on, because essential oils can be used yeah, they can be used with acupressure, acupuncture points. I love that. I love citrus oils for clarifying and brightening. And I love some of more of those cooling or denser oils for grounding. I'm thinking cedar wood. We're heading into the winter months soon, right? And to have something that is grounding can be really helpful. And fun fact, the olfactory system is connected to the amygdala in the brain, right?
Mm.
So when we're tapping, we're calming that amygdala. And how amazing that it would make sense that if we want to smell something that is brightening, we are stimulating that amygdala, right? If we're in a depressed or collapsed state, and if we are heightened in that fight or flight state, smelling something that is grounding, anchoring, and calming. Isn't that just amazing?
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah, and ylang ylang is great too. It has a kind of a soothing quality. It's perfume-like, but soothing. I love ylang ylang. What about yourself?
I love lavender, tea tree.
Yeah.
I like boswellia a lot. For some reason, that seems very just kind of grounding to me and also has other benefits like antibacterial, antiviral, so if you feel like you're coming on with something, for me at least, it's very kind of grounding and also feels like maybe I'm doing something good for my body at the same time too.
Yeah, it feels nourishing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On a certain level, yeah. Yeah, and frankincense is coming to mind. Not everyone's cup of tea, but that one is something that just is feels like that grounding. And again, another fun fact, bergamot oil was just published in a medical journal that if you smell high quality therapeutic grade bergamot oil for up to 2 minutes, inhaling it and exhaling, it offsets symptoms of PTSD. How
Mhm.
amazing is that?
Well, I love all these different tips and tricks and things to help people kind of get their hands around how they're feeling and how to take in all the things that life is throwing at them. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful now because there's so much dialogue around what else can we do outside of just traditional, the traditional medical model, which has its benefits, but there's so much now, so much available to us, so much information, and everyone's just so individual too, right? So you get to choose and what feels right for you, what resonates.
yeah, absolutely. If people want to learn more about you, where do they find you?
Mhm. They can go to calmheartscounseling.com. They can look me up, Christine Slomski, therapist in Arizona, and results will come up. But calmheartscounseling.com, that's my practice. And that's where I do a lot of mind body work as a therapist.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been great to connect, Pamela.